Okay, well, welcome to our last week of Get Your Ducks in a Row. I appreciate your patience. My kids are on spring break this week, and so it's been a little bit of a juggle, and we ended up taking Tuesday off to spend some quality time with the kids. So, um, this week we are focusing on estate planning just to talk through the importance of wills, power of attorneys, what these things are, trust, and then most importantly, the resources that are available to you to help either update or get these affairs in order. So, just thinking through the importance of what all this means is think of your power of attorney is only useful when you're alive. So, the minute that you pass away, the power of attorney dies with you essentially. A will kicks in after you've passed away, and then a trust can either work when you're alive or have passed away, depending on how you set it up. And when you work with an estate attorney, based on your specific situation, they'll talk through what may work best in your specific situation. Um, So a power of attorney is someone basically who can speak on your behalf, either if it's legally or financially when you're unable to speak for yourself. Some people think you can only have one power of attorney, and that is simply not the case. If you have someone listed as POA of everything, that can be an overwhelming task. And for someone who may make the right decisions for you from a healthcare perspective, maybe you don't want them necessarily managing your finances. And so just I think those are important things to take into consideration when you're looking at that. So just going through some of the things a power of attorney can do. They can pay your bills, meaning they can make transactions or transfer funds from your bank accounts, manage your investments, real estate, taxes, obviously insurance, filing claims, or paying premiums. And then also, if you're concerned about a person's ability to handle power of attorney responsibilities, it may be helpful to consider several different people for different areas that you may need a power of attorney for. There's three different types of power of attorney. So you have the durable, which is the most common, and it allows someone to act on your behalf when you're no longer able to speak for yourself. And this can change at any time. A non-durable POA is for a specific reason. So let's say that you are closing on a house and you have to be out of the country, and so you have assigned someone to sign on your behalf. That would be an example of a non-durable power of attorney. And then there's also a springing power of attorney, which is somewhat similar to a non-durable. Um, you're defining a certain event or whenever you become incapacitated to an extent, then that person springs into action essentially. So when you're working through all of this, I know for my estate attorney, I did go through the MetLife legal benefit. I need to make some updates. She helped me talk through all of this and was super helpful. Um, you know, Unfortunately, bad things are going to happen to us no matter how well we have planned or not planned. And so when those situations occur, the unexpected happens, there's still things that are going to need to be maintained in your passing. There's still things that are going to need to be paid. You may need to close accounts. And so I've listed out here, and especially in the digital with internet and a lot of people having digital assets, digital accounts, looking if you're on social media, all of that. So you may want to have someone handle your digital assets and closing your accounts and things like that. Then you have your healthcare. Maybe you have someone managing all your finances. So here are just some examples of different types of power of attorneys that you may want to consider. A living will, this is also known as a healthcare proxy or directive or advanced care directive. This outlines your wishes around the types of medical care you do or do not wish to receive if you're unable to speak to yourself. So this would be something you would also want to communicate with your power of attorney on, do you want artificial means of nutrition if they know you're going to be in a vegetative state, for the rest of your life? Do you want to be in a vegetative state and them to feed you with a tube feeding and so thinking through all of that and making that aware to whoever your power of attorney is so they can speak on your behalf in those types of situations. Then you have your will. It's also known as a last will and testament. And this talks about how you want your assets distributed after you pass and who you're leaving what to. This can be fluid. I've also recently updated my documents as well, talking through guardianship, your assets, and then real property. And again, an estate attorney, I know for me, I revoked my previous will and just essentially started from scratch. And she sent me a form and it asked me all these different questions. They were very specific. And then that form went back to her. And then she created the documents for me to come in, sign, and get it notarized and all of that. Here, just some, I'm not going to go through these one by one, but just some common terms for wills and trusts. You have your executor who's going to be in charge of your estate whenever you pass. Intestate, that's someone who passes that does not have a will, which some people assume that if you're married or you have a spouse, that all your assets and such essentially go to them. That's not always the case. And then sometimes people don't, maybe there's situations where the person who passes doesn't want their spouse to get everything and they wanted it to disperse it to other people. However, you're deciding to do that. You want to make sure the people that you have designated the people that you want to get the things that you want them to have before you pass. So you're not leaving that all up to someone else. And then usually you have to go through probate, and that's a very long and expensive process versus just having an outlined will and possibly a trust, depending on your situation, makes things 10 times easier. So trust, this can go alongside a will. So this gets back to, say you have a life insurance, you have a life insurance policy and you really want your kids to be the beneficiary of that, but they are under the age of 18. There's a lot of restrictions if you designate a minor as a beneficiary, but you can put it into a trust and determine how that money is going to be used, which a lot of estate attorneys are probably going to recommend, and they will help you work through that whole process. And they've actually made it pretty easy, thinking about my own kids. So talking through some of the resources that we have available, the MetLife Group Legal Plan, just as you're thinking about getting your affairs in order, you can't enroll in this benefit mid-year, but you can enroll in it when you make your 2026 annual enrollment election. So if there's a lot of things you need to update and a lot of questions that you have, it's $4.33 a week. And this has saved me specifically so much money for things that could easily cost thousands and thousands of dollars. Is done completely for free. And so just knowing beyond just estate planning needs, they can help with home and real estate. This is a kind of a vulnerable program, if you will. And full transparency, I'm in the midst of a divorce with 2 kids, and this MetLife legal plan has been very helpful as I kind of rethink my affairs and updating wills and all of that. That's been a lifesaver. So I know they can help you through things like that. If you are going through a separation or divorce, I know one of the enhancements I believe this started last year, you get 20 hours for separation divorce with an attorney, elder care issues, if you got a speeding ticket or something like that and you need representation, they could help you through that. So this is a fantastic benefit, and it may be something that maybe you need to figure out a few things and update a few things, and then you can opt out of it the following year. But this is a really great benefit if you have a lot of things currently you need to work on. Then we also have them through the EAP program. They offer free and confidential telephonic legal consultation. It's 30 minutes. And if you decide to move forward with that attorney, you usually get a 25% discount. And you get one consultation per legal matter. So say it is something around a will, power of attorney. That's one legal matter. The other one could be, for any traffic, maybe you got a traffic ticket or something like that. That would be a separate legal matter. They also have a free will maker and trust software. So if you have a fairly simple or straightforward will, you can actually create it through the My Group EAP website. And this, I know if you buy it in the store, it retails around $100, I believe. So that's completely free through the website. And then you would just take it somewhere to get notarized. They have a ton of legal forms, a lot of legal information, a lot of articles around estate planning. They have like a financial organizer, if you will. It's called the Pocket Smith Personal Financial Manager. So if you haven't been on their Work Life Services website, you may want to check those out because they do have a lot of great resources out there. So here's the information on how to access that. And again, I'll send out all this information for you to have access to. If you have any a child or sibling with special needs that you want to talk through some financial planning with, and what happens if something happens to you, any precautions or things you may want to consider when you have a child with special needs. There's the Voya Cares program. So if you're enrolled in the Voya 457 plan, they offer some special things around financial planning for special needs. And I know our team, we're working on a program specific to this and things you want to consider when planning for special needs that we may roll that out on a larger scale. So be on the lookout for that. If you do have this benefit, I've attached the link just to give you some more information on that. And then the plan of attack for this week is you're going to complete pages. You're just going to finish completing the life planning organizer. And then really thinking through how to have those conversations. So, you've done all this work to get all of your affairs in order, but the information is only useful to a certain extent. So if I've made all these plans, but I haven't communicated with anyone what my plans are, or that they're even the executive of my estate, or maybe I've changed guardianship for my kids, and having those important conversations with those people is half the battle as well. I know for me and my family, this is not something we really talked about that often. So I didn't even know my dad wanted to be cremated until maybe a year or so before he passed away. And thank goodness that we had those conversations, because I know whenever I was planning his funeral, or my mom and sisters were, so we gave him what he would have wanted. So after you've completed this, you should have all your monthly bills. You have the monthly bill organizer. I would encourage you to do that from beginning of the month to end of the month. So you have all that. Your emergency plan document that you've completed, you've discussed that with your family, having that in a central location where everyone knows where it is. The life planning organizer, you've organized your username and passwords via the journal and password manager. If you've requested a password journal, I will get those out to you sometime next week. You've reviewed and updated all your beneficiaries. This is something you maybe want to check on a yearly basis, especially as life changes occur, or you get married. Hopefully not, but if you ever go through a divorce or anything like that, then likely you'll need to update your beneficiaries. And then making copies of your important documents and placing them in those folders that I gave you. I have around 25 lock boxes currently in our benefits closet. I'm going to order some more early next week. They won't take long to get in. So I'll look at how many people I've registered, and I'll connect with everyone on how to pick those up. And we'll go get those out to everyone. So more information to come. It will likely be Monday or Tuesday next week before I have all that information out to you, but it's coming. And then avoiding the default. So this is probably the hardest part of it all. It's just getting it all done. But again, it gets back to communicating with those people, so they are aware of what your plan is and that they're part of the plan and what that looks like. And making sure they are comfortable. So I know I've made some changes just based on life situations. And so I've had to have those important conversations with people, just so that they know making sure all my affairs are in order and that they're comfortable too with taking on that responsibility if something was to ever happen to me. This is a lot of information. And a lot of homework, if you will, to get through every week. But if you haven't finished it all, do not worry. Life happens. Just don't forget why you're doing this. And I would encourage you, if you're a little bit behind on stuff, just setting out some time, maybe in the evenings or an hour here, hour there, to work through this piece. And then don't ever hesitate to reach out to us. We're here to help you. So if you ever have any specific questions or anything like that, we are certainly here to help you in any form or fashion that you need. So don't forget about that. And then any questions that you may have. One thing to note is that I am going to put together a toolkit of sorts where it's going to have one location with all the PowerPoints that we've discussed, all the recorded sessions. It's going to have all your edible documents. It's going to have any of the flyers or overview documents around the MetLife, the beneficiary stuff. So I'll put everything in a toolkit of sorts, so you can access that whenever you need it. And so hopefully that will be helpful for you. Any questions? What was it? The past recap videos have an expiration date? They don't. So if you try to, sometimes after these sessions, I'll get notifications that people are requesting to view the recording. If you're trying to view it through here, through the actual Teams channel, there is an expiration date. So what I've been doing is I've downloaded the video and uploaded it to YouTube. So that way that doesn't expire. It never expires and anyone can access it, regardless if you don't have to be connected to the network to access it. So though, if you're looking at the follow-up email that I'm sending, those do not expire. Any other questions? Okay. Well, I'm around today, so if you need anything, let me know, and hope y'all enjoy the long weekend.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Megan.
Nan. Bye.
All right. Take
Thanks.
care.
Bye.
See ya.
Have a great
Bye.
weekend.
You too.
You.
Yes, thank you.